Welcome to FFC Top 3, a show where we, your FFC hosts, count things down from 3 to number 1. Thank you for joining us this week. As always, if you have a suggestion, please shout them out to us. This week's topic is actually a suggestion from our own Pins Halo, so you can blame him for this. This week, we're talking about our top 3 characters we love to hate. And I made it to where Blue was going to hate me this week, and I opened it up to any top 3 characters you love to hate. So it doesn't have to be a Destiny one, it could be any of them. And joining us this week in the hot seat is our good friend DancingViru from across the pond. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. So, you've listened to top 3. You kind of know how the gig goes. I'm going to make Blue go first. I'm going to have you go second, and I'll follow it up at the end with our number 3. Blue?
Wait. So we're starting on number
You're
3,
first.
right? Okay, you're confusing
Correct.
me. Okay. My number 3 is actually GLaDOS.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
From Portal?
From Portal, yeah.
The cake's a lie.
The cake's a lie. Like, I don't know. Like, GLaDOS, like, I absolutely love GLaDOS' character. Just, like, flat out, it's probably one of my favorite antagonists. I even hesitate to really call... I mean, she is a villain, but she's more just, like, the general antagonist in my mind. But, like, she is one of those... She's one of those characters that you're, like... If you play through... Especially the first Portal... If you play through the first Portal and you at some point don't just absolutely bleeping hate that character, you're not paying attention to what she's saying. Like, I mean, not at all. In Portal 2, like, Portal 2 kind of humanized her a little bit because of the whole potato situation, which is also, that was hilarious. But as far as, like, the hatred, that was, like, first Portal was, like, I mean... It was probably like 5th level to nearly the end where it was just like, shut up. I'm going to find your power cord and unplug you. Like, hated that AI so much.
So is it just because she taunts you, or what's the
well,
reason
it's kind of like, I hold her in the same like regard as like, kind of like the feeling that Handsome Jack was going for. Like, it's that taunting, it's that constant misleading. It's like, oh my god, just like stop talking. Like she was always like, you know, just the constant deluge of condescending jokes about your character and like, oh, you're gonna die, you're stupid, oh, you're gonna die, you're stupid. It's just like that constant, like, I'm like, oh my god, it just gets so annoyed. But at the same time, it was done in like, I love the Portal series because at the same time it's done in a way where I don't know how they could have, like, I don't think they could have done that any better, because at the same time I absolutely loved her character. Because she's the perfect blend of just like over the top, like hilarious insanity, and then also challenging. Like I loved how they kind of meshed those two emotions together with her character.
Yeah.
It was the cake, wasn't it?
GLaDOS was the one that just made me, because of all the taunting, I was just going to prove her wrong.
Right. No, and I think, I mean, like that's definitely like definitely the point, right? Is like it's to drive that, but like then like the whole thing with like companion cube, like how they torture the companion cubes and all that. Like there was a lot of things within the Portal series where it was like, especially since it's taking place in the same universe as like Half-Life, there's a lot of things that are going there as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Aperture is a subsidiary of one of the other companies, or a competitor to one of to Black Mesa. I can't remember exactly, but it does technically take place in the same universe as those.
Wasn't that the whole joke? Is that they weren't coming out with another Half-Life, but they were coming out with more portals, and that was the
I think that was, yeah. There was a couple jokes
out
about that, and then like they were like, oh yeah, the reason the whole thing was that Aperture was in competition to Black Mesa, I think was what it was. I can't remember exactly, but I think, but like that was the whole point of GLaDOS and the experiments, What? Yeah, Half-Life 3 is the cake. Yeah, cake is a lie. But like that was the whole thing. Was like Aperture kept like dropping, like just they kept like failing at getting stuff. Which is where I think the main antagonist in Portal 2, kind of that's where his like stressor kind of was he was constantly having to compete with Black Mesa, who was churning out all these products.
I see.
Who was that? John?
I don't remember. It's
Oh
been
my
a
god!
while.
It's
Actually,
the lemon rant is the only thing I really remember from him.
interestingly enough, this is a game franchise that Julie has played more than I have.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Cave
she's played
Johnson.
Portal,
Cave Johnson.
which was the only game that I knew that she played before she and I got together.
Yes, and Pins posted it. There is actually a recipe for the cake that is in Portal. Like it's legit. That is the recipe. It's so funny. The other thing is like at the end of Portal 1 and Portal 2, the ending songs are seriously some of my favorite songs. I absolutely just love like again, just the snark, like the aggressiveness and passive, the weird combination of overt and passive aggressiveness that GLaDOS has. It's just, and the way they did the voice, like it's just perfect character in my opinion.
Nice. Interesting character choice for that one. Just interesting character in general. All right, Viru, what's your number 3 for characters you love to hate?
My number 3 is, I would say, Cibola in Destiny.
Really?
Oh, man.
Really?
I'm done. Bye. I'm going away.
No, you're fine. Is it just because everybody, like, there's such a divide on it, or is there a different reason why Cibola is one of your characters?
I don't see like a real character progression from him. I feel like he's like staggering.
That's fair. We haven't gotten a whole lot of insight from him.
Yeah, and although I feel like right now he's like going towards like a different direction. If you like the mission dialogue and what's the new strike called?
The Pyramidion strike that we go into the side passage of that one.
Yeah, the festering core was it, right?
Okay.
I think that's the festering core. I feel like it's just this. I mean, I get where it's coming from. I guess that's why I love to hate it. I guess.
I think one of the things that is interesting about the Vanguard that's left in general is that neither Korra or Savalas seem to have a lot of current development. It's a lot of.
What are you talking about? Korra's developing a lot of things behind her little.
Okay, so the Vex Gate does not count. The Vex Gate does not count.
Like, man, for the smartest of the Vanguard, you're doing some really dumb stuff.
Oh, man. Did you see the joke that Issachel put out the other day about the Harpy Ghost because of the Vex Gate?
Yes, I love it. Where's Emmeline? Where's Emmeline? Oh, no.
Oh, my gosh. It was just so many problems. But as far as, like, we haven't got a lot of insight. We got a lot of insight into how they react to certain situations. That's not what I'm saying. We haven't gotten a lot of personal stories with them so much lately.
But
the closest is with Ikora's lines with Eris in the moon.
Yeah, but I guess what point are you cutting off? Like what point are you saying from? Because there was a lot of development up until
Cibola?
Yeah, with both of them. I mean, the entire Oxygen SR entry. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of development and healing that the two of them have gone through. It's just not been on screen or in game.
I think that's the big thing.
And that's fair. But I mean, like, if you're saying that there's no development, I really encourage you to go read Oxygen SR3 because there's a lot of development.
Yeah, I guess it's more like I think. Staggering is what I'm seeing, and maybe less lack of development. So in vanilla, the vanilla campaign, the Red War campaign, he did change like over time.
Well, yeah, because the
And,
trauma of the losing your light and all that.
Yeah, but also the idea what it means to be a guardian. He like eventually the moment where he called Hawthorne guardian.
Mhm.
That was a progression, but then I'm comparing him too much with others because in Warmind, was it Warmind or the narrative preview where he decided to like keep stuff secret.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was Warmind, and then, I mean,
yeah, I think that was a preview to Warmind, I believe.
Mhm.
That felt like a step back. It felt like he was like afraid again.
Well, and I think that was where
he...
right, and I think that's where the oxygen entry kind of explains that too, because that's where Ikora comes out and it's like, and even Zavala kind of comes out and says like, this is not what we signed up for. Like, you know, they're not the political character, and they're trying, but like, you know, Zavala is a military minded. You know, that's his mindset.
Even then, it's just, it doesn't seem at this point like they've got a lot going on, but we don't get to see their perspective as much, I guess, is more of what I'm, as far as character development. It's all through the eyes, and that is the limitation of the bandwidth they get per season.
I was about to say, I think that gets chalked up to they just don't have, which I think is where the narrative previews, right, actually give us a little bit of that insight, which I appreciate.
Right, absolutely.
But like when I guess when I loaded in and like you have to do the whole stupid welcome to Destiny 2 Shadowkeep, which I was really annoyed because it kept popping up little things. It's like, this is how you use your menu. I'm like, I know, I got it. And it wouldn't go away until you're like, yes, I went to that screen. Cool. But when like you did the whole like run around the tower and talk to everyone, he actually made a couple comments, and I'm blanking, of course, now that I'm talking about it. But like he made a few comments that I was like, wait, hang on, like, because he made a point of saying like, I know this is a threat, but I do not have the bandwidth to handle it, so I'm trusting you and Ikora to handle it. Which, given what Ikora is in the current process of doing, I'm like, it might be a bad call on that one. But like, you know, I mean, like he acknowledged our character's growth, and he said, you know, like, don't let it go to your head, but you know, this is basically on you. And so like, to me, I see that as a communal development between our character and the Vanguard in general, because it's kind of a recognition. You know, a lot of people are like, they're not recognizing all the stuff we're doing, but they are now. And like Ikora has, because I think that's the whole thing with Ikora, is that you're supposed to be collecting all the little Vex data chips or components or whatever. Which I feel makes me an accessory to the murder that's going to happen when that gate turns on. But you know, that's neither here or there. Like, I don't want to. Like, I want what you're giving me for doing this, but I don't want to support this. This is like a bad idea. But yeah, and Pins is saying that too. Is like he's kind of embracing that idea that he is no longer like a on the field general. He's actually he's now a you know, he's got a lead from behind, which I think is a new thing for him.
Target as far as punching bag, though. Gonna say that.
I mean, yeah, that's why he wears thick armor.
Except for his bald head. Anyway.
Yeah.
So my number 3, I went a completely different route. I did not touch video games necessarily. Now, one of my characters is absolutely a video game character, and it will not surprise anybody who's ever listened to me talk about this character. But my number 3 is from a book series that I enjoyed when I was back in junior high. It is, and if you know them by their first name, I will be very proud of you. It is Grima Wormtongue from Lord of the Rings, because that guy is an absolute jerk.
What? Yeah. No. Yeah. He's totally above the board.
Poison the King's Mind by Philip. Yeah, no. Also having slight dark. Yeah, no. Yeah, no. Not a fan. You can go away.
The freaking creep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I was not sad to see him get run off in the story, but that is 100% my number 3. Grima Wormtongue from Lord of the Rings. You really see him only in, I want to say it's the second book. It's whenever they're in with the Rohirrim, if I remember correctly, but it's been a long time. All right, number 2s, everybody. Blue, you are up.
The Thalmor.
Skyrim. Gotcha.
Yep. No, not just Skyrim.
Yep.
It's Elder Scrolls. They just all need to die.
High elves. Jerky.
Wow.
High elves.
They're the Elder Scrolls equivalent of the Nazis. Let's just call a spade on this one. They deserve every. I hate them.
Yeah, Blue may have a vendetta in so much that he will go and hunt.
I am not the only one. If I just to be in my slight. Actually, I don't even need to defend myself. Just acknowledging that I'm not the only one that feels that way.
Mm-hmm. You're good. Viru, what's your number 2?
It's Mako from The Legend of Korra.
Really?
Avatar, yeah.
Okay. You're going to have to explain a little bit more on the reasoning behind that one.
It's especially in the the second and third season and towards the end of the first season. At first I found him funny, but then he's just so... I just find him so delusional. And I hate it.
Yeah.
Like overly optimistic until it's too late, and then he just get hurt.
Yeah, I can think of a few characters like that just cause too many issues for being overly optimistic.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, I get that. All of mine are just kind of jerk faces. But I could see why a character that would be just overly optimistic would be something that get on your nerves. My number 2 is actually my only video game character. It is Toland. No shocker to anybody in this chat. Toland can just go piss off. So.
I mean, he kind of did. No, actually, he came back. So.
He's back.
Yeah.
And I have to visit him because apparently he holds lore to the moon, which is stupid, but he insults me every time I go up to him because he's a jerk face. And
because he knows he doesn't like you.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm fine. And it's a mutual agreement between us. I actually really, this week, as far as for people listening in the future, this week was the memories, the memorabilia of Toland in game that you had to return and heal Eris as far as her memories of him. It was an interesting set of dialogue. Eris is not super fond of him, but also I don't know. It's just she's not super fond of him, and I found that very soothing and recognizable. I get it. I don't mind it. But yes, Toland is definitely my number 2. Because, F that guy. Number 1's Blue.
My number 1 is a tie between Randall Flagg or Walter O'Dim and the Crimson King.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Go through why.
Well, okay, so the Dark Tower series is very big for me. I really like how King has presented a actual connection between all his works within that series. And 2 of the big connectors that actually cross a lot of different storylines, predominantly as antagonists, are Randall Flagg and the Crimson King. Crimson King he actually takes kind of a, excuse me. He actually kind of takes a backseat. He's a driving force. He's a catalyst in the Dark Towers, the 8 volumes, up until the very end. But he's very, very influential in the whole thing. He actually, I think if I remember correctly, he plays a more prominent role in Black House and Insomnia. but he's very, very much the driving force of particularly Flag, who actually takes the figure of Walter O'Dim in the Dark Tower series originally. You find out that he is actually Flag in the fourth book, I believe, third or fourth book. I can't remember which one it is that they catch up to Flag's manifestation of him. But Flag is also like one of the big reasons that the whole he is the catalyst for the entire pretty much series of the Dark Tower series. And it's the opening sentence really of the first book is the man in black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed. Mm-hmm. Walter O'Dim is the man in black. And there's a huge story of like what's going on there. He's, and what he's doing, what Roland's doing, and all this stuff. And it culminates basically in a final fight between the two of them. And the thing that like the fascinating thing with Walter or with Randall is like he's constantly trying to seek more power. He's trying to constantly kind of get one up on really everybody. And that actually in the end is the reason he falls. Is he is involved in creating basically the antithesis to Roland within the figure of Mordred, and that's ultimately what happens. Is he basically gets it's not pretty what happens to him. So he gets his comeuppance, but like in the Stand too. But yeah, so like the whole story, like the whole like progression of the Dark Tower is really, really, just in my opinion, it's really cool because of the way it connects all of King's works. And one of those prominent figures is Flag, but he's also like, he's just really well written to be hated.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, Pins is asking. Yeah. Flag was in Eyes of the Dragon. Yes, he's the. I think he was the primary antagonist on that one as well.
So shall I make you groan and say, is Flag the Matt McConaughey character from the movie?
Yeah, and he actually did a fair job with that particular portrayal. So like the thing with Dark Tower, and this is actually why I actually really like the movie. But the reason is that every iteration of the Dark Tower is basically a retelling of the same story. And it's that's actually explained in the series. This is a multiverse, and because it's a multiverse, there are multiple iterations of the same thing. So, and this was kind of led into with the movie in particular. There was a teaser that King actually put out, like I think 3 months before the movie, and it's a picture of a horn, and it says, "And he continued." He carried on, or something like that. But basically what it is like the movie is actually not it's not meant to be a direct translation of the books. Yeah. It's a continuation of the books. It's actually the next chapter in the books was the intent of that. And similar with the TV show, that's going to be kind of thing. That's why the differences that existed in the movie are completely canonical and capable of being existent inside the overall like universe of it, because the differences that are there. That's why, for example, one of the things that I picked up on that I actually don't remember a lot of people talking about, but Matthew McConaughey's character of Randall Flagg, there's a scene where he's picking out the particular orb that he's going to use. If you notice, he has the full Merlin's rainbow. In the books, he never had the full Merlin's rainbow because there was multiple times where Roland actually prevented him from getting them. One of the primary ones that he prevented him was Black 13, because that's the entire issue in the Dark Tower series. That was the entire reason that the terrorist attack of 9/11 happened, was because Black 13 was at the center of it. And that's how they actually locked it and pseudo destroyed it. And so Flag was not able to capture it. But in the movie, he has Black 13. He has the full rainbow of Merlin. And so he has the grapefruit, he has the Black 13, and all the colors. And so that's one of the things I was like, oh, oh no, that's not good. Like, because that's where he gets a lot of his power in the movie.
Interesting.
Yeah, he didn't have that in the book. So there's a couple other like small things that they had kind of thrown in there. The horn being one of them. That was also a nod to it being a continuation, because in the book series, Roland doesn't have the horn. That's actually one of the problems later in the book, is that he doesn't have the horn, which is a requirement in one of the final parts of the quest. So it's this whole multiverse theory, multi-relational timeline stuff that King has running through predominantly all of his books. And Flag and Roland are kind of both at the center of that.
Someday I'll get past the whole.
Yeah, your problem is you went with the audiobook.
Audiobooks.
Yeah. So Pins just put the tweet in chat. It's a picture of the horn on the ground, and the tweet says, "The Dark Tower is close now. The Crimson King awaits. Soon Roland will raise the Horn of Eld and blow." And then the picture is the horn, and over it says "Last time around." So it's basically the wheel of time, or the wheel of fate. This is meant to be the last time around it, which is what the Horn of Eld actually helps bring about, is that process.
Okay.
But that's why when I walked into the movie, I know a lot of people were like, "This isn't the books." I'm like, "No, it's not. It was never intended to be the books. This is an entirely brand new chapter. It's using the same characters, but there's a lot of times where even Flag makes the comment, like from the transition from the Stand and the Eyes of the Dragon into the Dark Tower series, from Hearts of Atlantis, all of those figures, even those transitions into the Dark Tower series, he makes himself the comment that he is the same but not the same. Mm-hmm. And it's that stepping across the lines of the multiverse that blend those storylines. And that's why in the movie there's things like the Dixie Pig, like that. Yes, it does exist in both stories, but the iteration in the movie is completely different than the iteration in the book.
Okay.
But that's also why you have like faint echoes of the same events, but they're flavored different.
And I know we can go on about.
I can go on forever. Oh my gosh, I can go on forever for this one.
It should be its own episode, honestly. We should do that as an extra lore.
I would totally be up for that. My head might explode at the end, but
it's okay. You might also need a cough drop or two.
Yeah.
Viru, what's your number one character that you love to hate?
My number one is Daenerys Targaryen in Game of Thrones.
Really? Is it because she went psycho crazy at the end, or is it for other reasons?
The psycho craziness has something to do with it, but it's not just that. I kind of saw it coming.
Okay.
I guess that's why. It's really interesting because up to the point where it's still like on parallel with the books, I don't feel the same way with the book Daenerys.
Okay.
Because so the thing is, in the books you have like you actually see, so that the chapters are basically the point of views of these characters, right?
Right.
So you see, you don't only like read what she's saying, but also what she's thinking, which you don't have in the TV show, obviously. So some of the decisions she makes in the books make sense. In the TV show, it sometimes comes like kind of out of nowhere. But throughout the show, she maintains this sense of entitlement that I really hate, where the way she draws her justification to destroy her enemies in the scale of the destruction she wants to.
Right.
But
it wasn't nearly as bad as her brother. I don't know.
Sure, yeah. I mean, her brother was just
he was a jerk.
Yeah, he was a narcissistic
Mm-hmm.
something.
I don't know.
But
I think it's just a continuation of that family, right? Because the Mad King and the siblings, and you see the brother and how awful he was to her, so you gain sympathy for her.
That's the
But
one
then you
that
see her.
wasn't that the one that he got his head stuck in a pot?
yes.
Okay,
Uh,
that's
no,
about
no,
that.
no. He got crowned.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He got
He had the
crowned.
Jason
He had
Momoa
the.
put the gold on his
Uh-huh.
head. Yeah.
Crown
Wow.
Uh-huh.
walking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, all
Gosh, oh
right,
my
yeah,
God,
you asked
terrifying
for that.
scene.
Like, you literally got what you
He
asked for.
did.
You're a
He
Yeah.
did.
dumb.
Yeah. He was not a very intelligent character. I think I'm
Yeah,
trying to
he
think of
was.
the name of the character that's basically her translator through all of that when she's first learning.
Missandei.
Yeah. So just the interactions that she has, you start to see her turn early, but you don't. I don't know. She seems very humble at the very beginning, and
Yeah. At the
I was.
beginning, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't really settle in. I don't know. I tend to dislike Cersei much more strongly than I do Daenerys, but I can totally understand where you're going at with her.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I love Cersei.
Uh-huh.
I love the TV show Cersei. I hate the
Right.
book Cersei.
Uh-huh.
Because I guess most of the things because of the actress, she plays Cersei
Okay.
so well.
Oh yeah.
And
She's
her,
very cold. Very cold.
yeah, her narcissism is so believable. I guess that's why I hate Dany more, because she had a moment and lessons where she should have made her think, she should know better.
Ah.
But
I
it's she's kind of the character who only does good things as long as she has loved ones around her.
uh-huh.
And every time she loses one, she just gets closer to to a monster, and
That makes
uses
sense.
that to justify her desire to destroy her enemies who stole her crown, her throne, killed her families. And
Mm-hmm. I mean, after he's killed, she does start going off the deep end a little bit, but
yeah.
interesting. All right, so my number one in all of this is a comic book character who I was introduced into not through comic books, but through a really awesome TV show that I really wish had kept going / is going to keep going. I don't know. It's been a long time since I watched it, but I actually stopped watching it because of this character. And it is Zebediah Kilgrave, the Purple Man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I do not like that character. That character is a big jerk.
He's also Big Purple.
Yeah, he is Big Purple, but I mean, the guy who plays him in the TV series,
David Tennant.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I love David, and I love
did you see
my
his
Doctor
hair?
Who. I did, but my gosh, I've been around charming men in my life, and David does a really great job of being that really almost seductive charming, to the point where it's just like, oh, you are no, that's a whole lot of nope there. That's a whole lot of nope. So yeah, Kilgrave is definitely a character that has absolutely no redeeming qualities in my mind whatsoever. There's no reason for him to act that way in my book, period. But man, did you guys have any also rans of like anybody else that would go on your list at all? Who is that?
Dracula or Carmilla is predominantly. Mostly. Well, yeah, I know why you're giggling, but also because that was actually the source of my thesis for college. Was Dracula. It was an analysis of Dracula from a thanatological point of view. and like the way that he's portrayed and the way that Carmilla's portrayed is just it's fascinating and disturbing on so many different levels. But also in addition to that, you have like Grand Admiral Thrawn from the Legends of Star Wars. I know they reintroduced him in the new version. I haven't caught up whether or not he's this. I want to say he's probably not exactly the same as he was in Legends, because understandably there's some significant differences in the two story arcs. But in Legends, Thrawn was just an amazing character who was one of those characters that, like, Timothy Zahn did such an amazing job with his character. He was both one of those like extremely interesting characters who you also just didn't want, like you wanted bad things to happen to him, but you didn't want bad things to happen to him because the way he went about doing stuff was just really fascinating. He's a very detailed character, and Timothy Zahn did an amazing job on that one. Yeah, Pins is talking about it. Like one of the things that Thrawn would do is, in order to defeat an enemy, he would actually go out and study their culture, predominantly their art, and that's how he would get into the head of his enemy, and then he would use that to completely and utterly annihilate them. So like he was such. Yeah, and then he's oh god, man, he was so good. And then
of the Dracula, just to go back, is that episode out yet?
No, it is not. I have not. I still need to rope one more person in for supplemental purposes.
Voice acting.
Yes. It's in progress. I'm hoping to have that out. It's been, God, man, that thing's been in the works for months. I'm hoping to use that as kind of a springboard to kind of start back up on the snapshots, actually. But then my other final one was the Full Metal Alchemist, the Homunculi. That entire group is. Especially in the manga. In the anime, like I haven't watched Brotherhood, but in the original anime, it was like they changed a lot with them, and I like the way they portrayed them in the anime, but the way that they had them in the manga was just, oh my god, like I cannot. Yeah, Black Flag. I know. I've been meaning to watch it. I've been told it's a lot better. Sorry, chat's giving me grief for not watching Brotherhood. But the way that the homunculi, the primary homunculi in the manga are, it's just like, oh my gosh, you just like, it's one of those visceral feelings of just like, I don't like you, but you have such an interesting story. Like, and it's so I feel like angst is not strong enough of a word, but that's kind of the feeling it is, because they have such a painful like origin, which kind of it goes to explain why they are so twisted, but and also the fact that they don't have any humanity. But like, you know, the way that they explain how they became what they did in the manga was just it's you can see the progression coming, and you're like, no, don't. Oh, and it's just so good.
I have a funny one that is just it's kind of just been a childhood / continue into my adulthood terror. I actually don't like bush baby. The look of bush babies are adorable, but I actually don't like bush babies because they kind of look like them. And it's Gremlins. I hate Gremlins. I watched Gremlins once when I was a child, had nightmares for weeks, and just have not gotten over it. I'm 32 years old, guys, and I just can't get over Gremlins. Just saying.
This in. Green loves scary movies.
Yes, I just no. Psychological things I enjoy. I don't like gore. I don't know. It's just not my thing that I prefer to watch. Anyway, Viru, did you have any other also?
Not really,
No worries.
I don't think so.
No worries. Well, that is kind of a wrap for this week's top 3. Thank you, Pins, for the suggestion on the topic. This was definitely a fun one to kind of get into everybody's head a little bit and pick at them and see what kind of things we love to hate. Join us next week for who knows what we're going to talk about. But remember, everybody loves a list.